A 7-year-old walks up to the most dangerous man in Chicago and asks one question. Her mother tries to pull her away. Too late, he's already decided. These two strangers now belong to him. What happens next will make you believe broken people can build unbreakable families. The wheelchair came to a halt beside the empty cafe table, and Min Jae's grip tightened around his phone as he checked it one more time. Nothing. Just silence and the familiar sting of rejection settling into his bones. He could feel eyes on him, strangers pretending not to notice the man sitting alone with 2 untouched cups of coffee growing cold. Min Jae, who once commanded entire rooms with a single look, now reduced to this, abandoned and invisible. He was about to signal for the check when the door swung open, bringing with it a gust of wind and something that made him pause. A woman stepped inside, her dark brown skin catching the afternoon light, thick coils pulled back from her face, a small girl bouncing beside her. The child's curious gaze swept the cafe and landed directly on him, and before anyone could stop her, she was heading straight toward his table with the kind of boldness only the very young possess. "Why do you look so lonely?" the little girl asked, tilting her head to one side. The woman's horrified intake of breath came a second later, and she rushed forward, apologies tumbling from her lips. But Min Jae couldn't tear his eyes away from her, this stranger whose warm brown eyes held no pity, no fear, just genuine concern that felt like oxygen after years of suffocating. Chidera Okafor had exactly $43 in her checking account, a reality she was trying hard not to think about as she pushed through the door of Moonbeam Cafe with her 7-year-old daughter Amara's small hand tucked safely in hers. The interview at that new restaurant had seemed promising, but she'd learned not to trust. "We'll definitely call you back." Still, she'd promised Amara hot chocolate if she behaved during the meeting, and Chidera never broke promises to her daughter, no matter how much keeping them cost. The cafe smelled like roasted coffee beans and cinnamon, a welcome escape from the bitter Chicago cold outside. Chidera scanned the space, students hunched over laptops, an older couple sharing something sweet, and a man in a wheelchair positioned near the large front window. Even from across the room, she could see the sharpness of his features, the way he held himself with a kind of rigid control. "Mama, can I get extra marshmallows?" Amara tugged on her sleeve, practically vibrating with excitement. "We'll see what they have, baby," Chidera said softly, steering them toward the counter. But Amara's attention had already shifted. Her curious eyes fixed on the man by the window, and before Chidera could react, her daughter had slipped free and was walking straight toward him. "Amara, no," Chidera started, but it was too late. "Why do you look so lonely?" Amara's clear voice rang out. Mortification crashed through Chidera as she hurried over. "I'm so sorry. She doesn't understand boundaries. Amara, come here right now." But when she reached them, the words caught in her throat. Up close, the man was striking in a way that made her forget to breathe. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that seemed to see through everything, black hair perfectly styled. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her rent for 3 months, and there was something in the set of his shoulders, even seated, that spoke of carefully controlled power. "It's fine," he said, his voice low and measured, each word shaped by an accent that made them sound more intentional. His gaze moved from Amara to Chidera, and she felt the weight of his attention like something physical. "She's supposed to know better than to bother people," Chidera said firmly, placing a hand on Amara's shoulder. "I'm not bothering him, Mama. Look, there's 2 cups on his table, but he's all by himself. Someone didn't show up." Amara's innocent observation landed like a stone dropped in still water. Chidera's eyes darted to the table. 2 cups, one barely touched, one completely full. The man's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind those dark eyes, pain, maybe, or carefully buried anger. "Amara, that's enough," Chidera said quietly, squeezing her daughter's shoulder in warning. Then to the man, "I really am sorry. We'll leave you alone." "Wait." His voice stopped her mid-turn. "Please sit. We couldn't possibly. I insist." He gestured to the empty chair. "Your daughter is right. Someone didn't show up. It would be." He paused, searching, nice not to waste the coffee. Chidera hesitated. Every instinct screamed that this man was dangerous, not threatening, but dangerous in the way expensive things you can't afford to break are dangerous. Yet something in his carefully controlled expression, that flash of vulnerability, made her nod. "Just for a minute," she said, helping Amara into the chair before taking the other seat herself. "I'm Chidera. This is Amara." "Min Jae," he said simply. "Kong Min Jae." "That's a cool name," Amara declared, already warming to him. "Why are you in a wheelchair? Did something happen to your legs?" "Amara." Chidera felt heat flood her cheeks. "You can't ask people things like that." But Min Jae's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "It's all right. Yes, something happened in an accident. I can't walk anymore." "That's sad," Amara said solemnly. Then, with the lightning-fast topic changes of childhood, "Do you like hot chocolate?" "That's what I'm getting," Mama promised. "I've never had it," Min Jae admitted. "Never." Amara looked scandalized. "Mama, he's never had hot chocolate." "I'm sure Mr. Kang has had plenty of things I haven't, baby," Chidera said gently, feeling the weight of the class difference in every word. His watch alone probably cost more than her car used to, back when she'd had one. Min Jae's eyes found hers again, and this time she saw something sharpen in his gaze. "You'd be surprised what I've missed," he said quietly. Before Chidera could respond, Amara tugged on her sleeve. "Mama, can we get him hot chocolate too? Since his date left him." "Amara, we can't just," Chidera started, but Min Jae interrupted. "I would be honored," he said, his tone formal but warm. "But please, allow me to buy for all of us. It's the least I can do for the company." "We can't accept," Chidera began, pride straightening her spine. "Please." Something in his voice made her pause. "I would very much like to know what I've been missing. And your daughter is right. Being alone wasn't how I intended to spend this afternoon." Chidera looked at him, really looked. Beneath the expensive clothes and commanding presence, she saw loneliness, the kind that matched the ache in her own chest, the one she carried working double shifts and wondering if she'd ever be enough for her daughter. "All right," she said softly. "But just hot chocolate. We can't stay long." Amara's squeal of delight made several patrons turn, but Chidera barely noticed. She was too focused on the way Min Jae's expression softened, those carefully constructed walls cracking just enough to let her glimpse the person underneath. As he called a server over with the subtle authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed, Chidera wondered what kind of man gets stood up on a date, and more pressingly, why she already cared about the answer. 3 weeks later, Chidera stared at the hospital bill with trembling hands, the number blurring through unshed tears. $21,000. Amara's emergency appendectomy had saved her daughter's life, but destroyed any hope of financial stability Chidera had been desperately clinging to. "Ms. Okafor," the hospital administrator's voice held sympathy, but also firmness, "we need to discuss payment arrangements." "I understand," Chidera heard herself say, though she understood nothing except that she was drowning. She left the office on unsteady legs, phone already pressed to her ear as she called Marcus, her boss at the diner where she'd finally found steady work. "Marcus, I know I just started, but I need more shifts. As many as you can give me, doubles, triples, whatever you have." "Chidera, you're already working 6 days a week. And didn't your daughter just get out of the hospital?" "She's staying with Mrs. Chin down the hall." "I need the hours, Marcus. Please." The silence spoke volumes. "I'll see what I can do, but there's only so many hours in a day." She knew. God, she knew. But what choice did she have? Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Is this Chidera from Moonbeam Cafe?" Her finger hovered over the delete button. Then, "This is Min Jae. Your daughter left her stuffed bunny at the cafe. The owner kept it for you." Chidera's breath caught. She'd been so focused on Amara's sudden stomach pain that night, she hadn't even realized Mr. Hoppy was missing. Amara had been asking about him for days. "Thank you. I'll try to pick it up this week." The response came immediately. "I have it. I asked the owner for your number. I hope that's acceptable." It probably wasn't. But right now, knowing she could give Amara her beloved bunny back felt like the only good thing in a terrible day. "Can I meet you at the cafe tomorrow evening? Around 6? I'll be there." Min Jae arrived at Moonbeam Cafe 25 minutes early, the stuffed bunny sitting on his lap, wondering if he'd lost his mind completely. He'd built an empire on cold calculation and ruthless precision. He didn't chase women. He didn't save stuffed animals. He certainly didn't spend 3 weeks thinking about warm brown eyes and a little girl's innocent question about loneliness. But he'd done all those things. "You're here early," Young Tae-sung, his second-in-command, noted from his position near the door. "This isn't like you." "Just wait in the car," Min Jae said shortly. He knew what his men thought, that he'd grown soft since the accident, that a man in a wheelchair couldn't lead the Black Dragon organization. There had already been whispers, rivals circling like predators who smelled weakness. Let them try. He'd built his reputation on being 5 steps ahead of everyone else. The wheelchair hadn't changed that. If anything, it had made him more dangerous. He had nothing left to lose except what truly mattered. The door chimed at exactly 6. Chidera entered, and Min Jae felt his chest constrict at the sight of her. She looked exhausted, shadows under her eyes, shoulders slumped with invisible weight. Her coils were pulled back in a simple ponytail, revealing the elegant curve of her neck. She wore a diner uniform, slightly wrinkled, suggesting she'd come straight from work. "Hi," she said softly, approaching his table. "I'm sorry I came straight from." "You work at Ruby's diner," he said before he could stop himself. She blinked, surprise crossing her features. "How did you? I saw you through the window last week." He gestured to the seat across from him. "Please sit." She did, her gaze landing on the stuffed bunny. "Oh, Mr. Hoppy." Amara has been heartbroken. She reached for it, and Min Jae saw her hands were shaking. "Thank you for keeping him safe." "Where is Amara tonight?" "With Mrs. Chin, my neighbor. She just got out of the hospital." Chidera's voice cracked slightly, and she looked away. "Emergency appendectomy. She's fine now, but the bills aren't," Min Jae finished quietly. Her eyes snapped to his, pride and pain warring in their depths. "I'll handle it." "I'm sure you will." He studied her for a moment. "How much?" "That's not your concern." "How much, Chidera?" Her name felt right in his mouth, intimate in a way that should have concerned him. She stood abruptly. "Thank you for returning, Mr. Hoppy. I should go." $21,300, Min Jae said. "That's the standard cost for pediatric appendectomy at Chicago Memorial, including emergency room, surgery, 3-night stay, and follow-up care." "How close am I?" The color drained from her face. "How could you possibly?" "Sit down, please." He waited until she slowly sank back into the chair. "I'm offering you a job." "A job?" Her voice was flat with disbelief. "My personal assistant quit last week. She said working for me was too demanding." He kept his tone even, businesslike. "I need someone organized, reliable, and unafraid to speak their mind. Your daughter already proved you raised someone with that quality. You want to hire me because my 7-year-old asked why you looked lonely? I want to hire you because you've been working multiple jobs while raising a daughter alone, and you still took time to sit with a stranger because your daughter thought he needed company." He leaned forward slightly. "The salary is $95,000 a year, plus health insurance that will cover Amara's hospital bills retroactively." Chidera's sharp intake of breath was audible. You can't be serious." "I'm always serious." Min Jae pulled out a business card, sliding it across the table. "Come to this address tomorrow morning at 9. We'll discuss details." She stared at the card like it might burn her. "What's the catch?" "No catch. I need an assistant." "You need financial stability." "It's a straightforward transaction." "Nothing is straightforward with men like you," Chidera said quietly. "And I don't even know what you actually do. For all I know, you could be dangerous." Min Jae finished. "I am. But not to you. Never to you or your daughter." The certainty in his voice made something shift in her expression. She picked up the card, her fingers brushing his for a brief moment that sent electricity racing up his arm. "Why me? You could hire anyone. But I'm offering it to you." He held her gaze. "Take the night to think about it." "But Chidera, the hospital starts collection procedures in 30 days. You don't have time to let pride make this decision for you." Her jaw tightened. "I'll think about it." She stood, clutching the stuffed bunny and his business card like lifelines. At the door, she paused and looked back. That woman who stood you up? She's an idiot. Then she was gone, leaving Min Jae alone with the echo of her words and the absolute certainty that he'd just done something that would change everything. His phone buzzed. Text from Taesung. The Park Syndicate is making moves. They want a meeting. Min Jae deleted the message. Tomorrow he'd deal with rivals and threats and the brutal reality of his world. Tonight, he'd allow himself to imagine what it might be like to have someone look at him the way Chidera had, not with pity or fear, but with something that felt dangerously like possibility. Chidera stood outside the glass tower in downtown Chicago, craning her neck to see the top. The address on Min Jae's card had led here, to one of the most expensive buildings in the city. She'd researched Kong Min Jae until her eyes burned. Import-export business, multiple properties, connections that made warning bells ring in her head. But she needed this job. Amara needed this job. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford anymore. The lobby was marble and chrome, intimidatingly pristine. A receptionist looked up as she approached, taking in Chidera's carefully pressed blouse and slacks, the nicest clothes she owned, which still felt shabby in this place. I'm here to see Mr. Kong, Chidera said, lifting her chin. He's expecting me. Name? Chidera Okafor. The receptionist's expression shifted from cool professionalism to something warmer. Yes. Mr. Kong said to send you directly up. Penthouse floor. She handed over a key card. This will give you access. The elevator ride felt endless. Chidera watched the floor numbers climb, 30, 40, 50, and wondered what she was walking into. The doors finally opened directly into a massive penthouse office, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view of Chicago that stole her breath. Min Jae sat behind an enormous desk, his wheelchair barely visible from this angle. He looked up as she entered, and something in his expression eased. You came. You paid off Amara's hospital bill last night. The words came out sharper than she intended. The hospital called me at 6 this morning to tell me my balance was 0. Yes. I didn't accept the job yet. I know. He gestured to the chair across from him. Consider it a signing bonus. You can refuse the position if you want. The bill stays paid regardless. Chidera's throat tightened. Why would you do that? Because your daughter needed surgery, and you shouldn't have to choose between her health and keeping a roof over your heads. He said it like it was simple. Do you want the job or not? She should say no. Every instinct screamed that accepting help from this man would complicate her life in ways she couldn't imagine. But she looked at him, really looked, and saw the loneliness she'd glimpsed at the cafe deeper now, like a wound that never quite healed. What would I actually be doing? She asked carefully. Managing my schedule, taking calls, organizing meetings. He paused. Sometimes accompanying me to events. Being present. Being present, she repeated. That's vague. I need someone I can trust in my space. Someone who won't run when things get complicated. His eyes locked on hers. I think you're that person. You don't know me. I know you keep promises to your daughter even when you can barely afford to. I know you sat with a stranger because your child thought he looked lonely. I know you've been working yourself to exhaustion trying to hold your world together. His voice dropped lower. I know what that feels like. The vulnerability in those words cracked something in her chest. Okay, she heard herself say. I'll take the job. But I have conditions. Name them. I pick Amara up from school every day at 3:30. No exceptions. And if she's sick, I go to her no matter what meeting you have. Agreed. And this is purely professional. Boss and employee. Nothing else. Something flickered in Min Jae's expression. Disappointment, maybe, or relief. Of course. Good. Chidera stood, extending her hand. When do I start? He took her hand, his grip firm and warm. The contact sent awareness up her arm that she absolutely refused to acknowledge. Now. I have a meeting in an hour with some business associates. You'll sit in, take notes. What kind of business associates? The kind who will test you. He released her hand slowly. Some of them won't like that I hired you. They'll say things. Can you handle it? The question was a challenge. Chidera met it head-on. I've been handling men who underestimate me my whole life, Mr. King. Your business associates don't scare me. Min Jae, he corrected. If we're going to work together, use my name. Min Jae, she repeated, the syllables foreign but not unpleasant on her tongue. Better. He pressed a button on his desk. Taesung will show you to your office. Get familiar with my calendar. The meeting is at 11. The meeting was exactly as awful as Min Jae had warned. 5 men in expensive suits, their eyes tracking Chidera's every move with expressions ranging from skepticism to outright hostility. She sat in the corner, laptop open, taking notes while they discussed shipping routes and profit margins and schedules that felt suspiciously vague. This is your new assistant, one man asked in Korean, clearly not expecting her to understand. She's very decorative. Chidera's fingers stilled on the keyboard. She didn't speak Korean, but tone was universal. Speak English, Min Jae said coldly, his voice dropping into something dangerous, or don't speak at all. The room went silent. The man who'd spoken flushed red. My apologies. I meant no disrespect. You meant exactly disrespect. Min Jae's hands were flat on the table, knuckles white. Ms. Okafor is my assistant because she's competent, intelligent, and trustworthy. If anyone has a problem with that, there's the door. No one moved. Good. Min Jae turned his attention back to the papers in front of him. Now, about the shipment from Busan. Chidera kept taking notes, but her heart was pounding. She'd expected to have to defend herself. She hadn't expected Min Jae to do it for her with such absolute authority that the room seemed to shrink around him. The meeting ended 40 minutes later. As the men filed out, one lingered, younger than the others, with sharp features and calculating eyes. Min Jae-hyung, he said in English. A word. Chidera, give us a moment, Min Jae said quietly. She stood, gathering her laptop. As she passed the younger man, he smiled at her, cold and assessing. Welcome to the organization, Ms. Okafor. I hope you last. The door closed behind her, but she could still hear raised voices through the thick wood. Korean, rapid and angry. Then Min Jae's voice, low and deadly. Touch her and you won't live to regret it. Chidera pressed her back against the wall, her breath coming too fast. What had she walked into? The door opened. The younger man emerged, his expression dark. He barely glanced at her as he strode past, but she felt the weight of his anger like a physical presence. Chidera, Min Jae's voice called from inside. Come back in. She did, closing the door carefully behind her. What was that about? Park Hyun-woo expressing his displeasure with my choice of assistant. Min Jae's expression was carved from stone. He'll adjust. And if he doesn't, he'll learn why challenging me is a mistake. He studied her face. Are you afraid? Chidera thought about it. She should be. Everything about this screamed danger. But when she looked at Min Jae, she didn't see a threat. She saw a man fighting to hold onto power in a world that wanted to take it from him. No, she said honestly. Should I be? Probably. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. But I'm glad you're not. Her phone buzzed. Text from Mrs. Chin. Amara is asking when you'll be home. She wants to show you her drawing. Reality crashed back in. I need to go pick up my daughter. Of course. Min Jae glanced at his watch. It's only noon. Take the rest of the day. Get settled. Tomorrow we'll start properly. You're paying me to work full days. I'm paying you to be present when I need you. Today, your daughter needs you more. He held her gaze. Go, Chidera. She nodded, gathering her things. At the door, she paused. Thank you for what you said in the meeting. I meant every word. The intensity in his voice made her breath catch. No one disrespects you. Not in my presence. Chidera left before she could examine why those words made her heart race. But in the elevator, alone with her reflection, she couldn't deny the truth staring back at her. She was in way over her head. And the scariest part was how much she didn't want to leave. 2 months into her new job, Chidera had learned 3 things about Kang Min Jae. He never slept more than 4 hours a night. He hated being pitted, and he was absolutely devastating when someone threatened what was his. She learned that last part when Park Hyun-woo made his move. It started with a text message she wasn't supposed to see, Min Jae's phone lighting up on his desk while he was in a meeting. Chidera glanced over, meaning to silence it, and froze at the preview. Your pretty assistant's daughter goes to Lincoln Elementary. Cute kid. Would be a shame if. She grabbed the phone, hands shaking. The meeting room was 20 feet away, visible through the glass wall. Min Jae sat at the head of the table, his attention focused on the men presenting shipment schedules. She couldn't interrupt. But she also couldn't breathe. Her own phone buzzed. Unknown number. Check your email. The attachment was a photo of Amara leaving school that afternoon, Mrs. Chin walking beside her. The angle suggested it had been taken from a car across the street. Chidera's vision went red. She was halfway to the elevator before rational thought returned. She couldn't just run. She needed Min Jae. The meeting room door opened. Min Jae emerged, his eyes immediately finding hers across the office. Whatever he saw in her expression made him move faster than she'd ever seen, the wheelchair's motor humming as he crossed the space between them. What happened? His voice was deadly calm. Your phone, she thrust it at him, unable to form complete sentences. Amara. They sent a photo. Min Jae took the phone, read the message, and went completely still. When he looked up, his eyes held something that made her understand exactly why people feared him. Taesung, he called, not raising his voice, but somehow making it carry. Get the car. Now. Min Jae, where is Amara right now? With Mrs. Chin at my apartment, but if they were watching the school, they won't touch her. He said it with such certainty that some of her panic eased. I promise you, Chidera. They won't touch her. How can you be sure? Because Hyunwoo knows that if he does, I will burn his entire organization to the ground. Min Jae's phone was already at his ear, rapid Korean spilling out as he gave orders. Then to her, we're going to get your daughter right now. You think I'm letting you out of my sight when someone just threatened you? His jaw was tight with controlled fury. Get your things. We leave in 60 seconds. The car ride to her apartment took 15 minutes that felt like hours. Min Jae spent the entire time on the phone, his voice switching between English and Korean as he coordinated with people Chidera couldn't see. She caught words like security, surveillance, and eliminate. What are you doing? She asked quietly when he ended another call. Protecting what's mine. The words came out before he seemed to register them. He looked at her, something raw in his expression. I know what you meant. Her voice was barely a whisper. When they arrived at her building, a weathered 3-story walk-up in a neighborhood that had seen better days, Min Jae stared at the crumbling steps with barely concealed frustration. How do you? He started. I'll carry Hyungnim, Taesung said simply from the driver's seat. Or we call Ms. Okafor's neighbor down. No. Chidera was already out of the car. I'll get Amara. You two stay here where people can see you. If they're watching, let them see we're not afraid. Min Jae caught her wrist, his grip gentle but insistent. Chidera. What? 5 minutes. If you're not back in 5 minutes, I'm coming up. Stairs or not. She nodded, pulling free and running for the entrance. Mrs. Chin answered on the first knock, Amara visible behind her, watching cartoons and completely oblivious to the danger that had circled her today. Baby girl, Chidera breathed, pulling her daughter into her arms. We need to go. But Mama, my show. Now, Amara. Something in her tone made her daughter's eyes widen. Mrs. Chin handed over Amara's backpack. Everything okay, dear? Yes. Thank you for watching her. I'll call you later. She didn't breathe properly until they were back in the car, Amara tucked against her side, Min Jae's eyes dark with an emotion she couldn't name. Who's he? Amara asked, pointing at Min Jae with her usual lack of filter. This is Mr. Kong. Remember from the café? Oh. Amara's face lit up. The lonely man. But you look less lonely now. Did you finally try hot chocolate? Despite everything, Min Jae's lips twitched. Not yet. You should. It makes everything better. Amara settled back against Chidera with the unshakable confidence of a child who'd never known real fear. Where are we going? Somewhere safe, Min Jae said, his eyes meeting Chidera's over Amara's head. Somewhere no one can hurt you. Somewhere safe turned out to be Min Jae's penthouse apartment, 40 stories of luxury that made Chidera's modest place look like a cardboard box. Amara's eyes went wide as dinner plates as they entered, taking in the soaring ceilings and windows that offered a view of the entire city. Whoa, she breathed. Do you live in the sky? Sometimes it feels like it, Min Jae admitted. He maneuvered his wheelchair to the kitchen, pressing buttons on a panel that lowered the countertops to his height. Are you hungry? Starving, Amara declared, already exploring with fearless curiosity. Mama, there's a TV bigger than our whole apartment. Amara, don't touch anything, Chidera started. Let her explore, Min Jae said quietly. Everything here is replaceable. Her safety isn't. The weight of those words settled in Chidera's chest. We can't stay here. You can. You will. He was pulling ingredients from the refrigerator with practiced efficiency, vegetables, rice, meat. At least until I've dealt with Hyunwoo. Dealt with. She kept her voice low, aware of Amara in the next room. What does that mean? It means he crossed a line. Threatening you is bad enough. But your daughter, Min Jae's hand stilled on the cutting board. That's unforgivable. This is because of me. Because you hired me. This is because Hyunwoo wants my position and thinks I'm weak now. Min Jae's voice was hard. He's about to learn otherwise. I don't want you to do something you'll regret. The only thing I regret, he interrupted, finally looking at her fully, is putting you in danger in the first place. I should have anticipated this. Should have protected you better. You couldn't have known. I should have. The anguish in his voice was raw. I know what these men are capable of. I'm one of them, Chidera. Or I was, before, he gestured to the wheelchair with barely contained bitterness. Before the accident, she finished softly. Before I got careless. Before I trusted the wrong person and paid for it. His laugh was bitter. 2 years ago, I was untouchable. Now I can't even climb a flight of stairs. Chidera moved before thinking, crossing the distance between them to kneel beside his wheelchair. You're not weak. Anyone who thinks that is a fool. You don't know what I've done. What I'm capable of. I know you paid off a stranger's hospital bill without expecting anything in return. I know you defended me in a room full of men who wanted to dismiss me. I know you just promised my daughter she'd be safe, and I believe you. She reached up, her hand cupping his jaw, feeling the tension there. I don't care what you were. I care who you are now. Min Jae's hand came up to cover hers, his fingers trembling slightly. You should run from me. I'm a single mother with $43 to my name and a daughter who needs stability. I don't have the luxury of running from anything. She smiled sadly. Besides, I think we both know I stopped wanting to run weeks ago. The air between them went electric. Min Jae's eyes darkened, his thumb tracing the line of her wrist where her pulse jumped. Chidera. Mama. Mr. Kong. Come look at this view. Amara's voice shattered the moment. They pulled apart, but the awareness lingered. As they joined Amara at the window, watching the city lights spread out beneath them like a carpet of stars, Chidera felt the shift in her chest, the moment when everything changed from temporary to something far more dangerous. She was falling for him. For the lonely man in the wheelchair who fought to maintain power in a world that wanted to take it from him. For the person who saw her not as a burden or a charity case, but as someone worth protecting. And judging by the way Min Jae's hand found hers in the darkness, the way his fingers laced through hers with a possession that felt like a promise, she wasn't falling alone. The war with Park Hyunwoo lasted 3 days. Chidera didn't see most of it. Min Jae insisted she and Amara stay in the penthouse under guard while he handled things. But she heard the whispers from Tae-sung and the other men who rotated through, providing security. Shipments intercepted. Accounts frozen. Allies turned. By the time Min Jae returned on the 4th morning, looking exhausted but grimly satisfied, Hyunwoo's organization was in shambles. It's done, he said, simply finding Chidera in the kitchen where she was making breakfast for Amara. He's gone. No one will threaten you again. Gone where? She asked carefully. Does it matter? Yes. She set down the spatula, turning to face him fully. Because if you killed him, I need to know what that makes me, staying here, accepting your protection. I didn't kill him. Min Jae's voice was flat. But I made it clear that if he ever sets foot in Chicago again, I will. He took what he could carry and fled to the West Coast. He won't be back. Relief and something darker twisted in Chidera's gut. All because he threatened me. All because he thought he could take what's mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it made heat coil low in her belly. You and Amara are under my protection now. Anyone who wants to harm you will have to go through me first. We're not yours. Aren't you? He moved closer, the wheelchair nearly silent on the hardwood floor. Tell me you don't feel this thing between us. I work for you. Forget the job. The curse, so unlike his usual controlled speech, made her breath catch. Tell me I'm imagining the way you look at me. The way you touch my hand when you think I won't notice. Tell me you don't lie awake at night wondering what it would be like. I can't. The admission tore from her throat. I can't tell you that because it would be a lie. His eyes blazed. Then what are we doing, Chidera? What is this dance we're performing? I don't know. She pressed her hands to her face. You're my boss. You paid off my daughter's hospital bills. You're dangerous and powerful and everything my life isn't. And you what? I care about you, she whispered, more than I should. More than is smart. Min Jae reached out, his fingers wrapping around her wrist and tugging her closer until she was standing between his knees, his face level with her stomach. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that day in the café. Since your daughter asked why I looked lonely, and you apologized for something that was the only real moment I'd had in months. His hands moved to her hips, holding her in place. I was drowning before you in bitterness and anger and the absolute certainty that my life was over, that I was useless. Then you walked in with your pride and your strength and your incredible daughter who has no sense of self-preservation, and suddenly I had a reason to wake up in the morning. Tears pricked Chidera's eyes. This is crazy. We barely know each other. I know you take sugar in your coffee but never cream. I know you hum off-key in the mornings when you think no one's listening. I know you'd burn the world down to protect Amara, and you're the only person besides Day who doesn't flinch when I lose my temper. His voice dropped lower. I know that when you smile at me, really smile, not that polite professional thing you do for everyone else, I feel like maybe I'm not broken after all. You're not broken, she said fiercely, her hands coming up to frame his face. You're the strongest person I've ever met. Then let me be strong for you. For both of you. His hands tightened on her hips. Stay here. Not as my employee, not as someone I'm protecting. Stay as mine. I have a 7-year-old daughter, who I would give my life to protect, who already has more courage than most of my men. A smile ghosted across his lips. She asked me yesterday if I was going to marry you. Chidera's breath caught. What did you tell her? That I was working on it. You're insane. Probably. He tugged her closer still, until her forehead rested against his. But I meant what I said in the car. You're mine now. Both of you. I just need you to say yes. Yes to what? Moving in? Dating? What exactly are you asking? Everything. The word was a vow. I'm asking for everything, Chidera. Your trust, your time, your heart if you'll give it to me. I'm asking you to take a chance on a man in a wheelchair who deals with criminals and can't protect you the way he wants to but will die trying anyway. Stop. She pulled back enough to meet his eyes. Stop talking about the wheelchair like it defines you. You're Kong Min Jae. You're brilliant and fierce and yes, a little bit terrifying. You run an empire from that chair. You took down a rival organization in 72 hours. You make my daughter laugh and you make me feel, her voice cracked. You make me feel like maybe I'm not alone anymore. Something raw and vulnerable crossed his expression. You're not. You'll never be alone again. I promise. Promise. I promise. He leaned forward, his lips brushing her forehead in a gesture so tender it shattered something in her chest. You saved my life that day in the cafe. Now let me spend the rest of mine making sure you never regret it. Mama? Amara's sleepy voice broke through the moment. Why are you crying? Did Mr. Kang make you sad? Chidera laughed through her tears, pulling back to look at her daughter standing in the doorway, Mr. Hoppy clutched in one hand. No, baby. I'm happy. Oh. Amara patted over, inserting herself between them with the presumption of childhood. Good, because I like him. He's nice. Am I? Min Jae's voice was amused. Yeah. You give good hugs and you don't get mad when I ask questions. Amara looked up at him seriously. Are you going to be my daddy now? The question hung in the air. Min Jae's eyes found Chidera's, asking permission. She nodded, barely able to breathe. I'd like that, he said quietly. If your mama agrees. She agrees, Amara announced confidently. She's been staring at you all googly-eyed for weeks. It's gross. Amara. Chidera felt her cheeks burn. But Min Jae was laughing real, genuine laughter that transformed his face into something beautiful. He pulled Amara into his lap, then reached for Chidera's hand, tugging her down until she was perched on the armrest, his arm wrapped around her waist. There, he said, looking between them with something like wonder. This is what I've been missing. This is what I thought I'd never have. Chidera leaned into him, letting herself believe for the first time that maybe happy endings weren't just for other people. We're a lot of work. Good. His lips brushed her temple. I like a challenge. And we're a package deal. If you want me, you get Amara too. Already established. His arm tightened possessively. Both of you. No negotiations. What if I snore? Amara piped up. Then I'll get earplugs. What if Mama burns dinner? Then we'll order takeout. What if? Amara, Chidera interrupted gently. I think we've established Mr. Kong isn't going anywhere. Min Jae, he corrected. And you're right. I'm not. He looked at Chidera with an intensity that stole her breath. You're stuck with me now. Both of you. Later, after Amara had been coaxed back to bed and they were alone again, Min Jae pulled Chidera onto his lap properly, one hand cupping her face with reverence usually reserved for something precious. I need to tell you something, he said quietly. About the accident. About why I'm in this chair. You don't have to. I do. His thumb traced her cheekbone. If we're doing this, if you're really staying, you need to know what you're getting into. So she listened as he told her about the rival gang, the ambush, the moment his car went off the bridge and his spine shattered. About waking up in the hospital to find half his organization gone, vultures circling his territory, everyone certain he was finished. They were wrong, Chidera said fiercely when he was done. Maybe, but I'm not the man I was. Good. She kissed him then hard and sure, swallowing his protest. When she pulled back, his eyes were dark with want. Because the man you were wouldn't have saved a stuffed bunny for a little girl. Wouldn't have defended me in front of your entire organization. Wouldn't have looked at me like I'm something precious instead of convenient. You're precious, he said roughly. You're everything. Then show me. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Show me what it means to be yours. His hands slid into her hair, tugging her back down until their lips met again. This kiss was different, hungry and claiming, a promise and a warning all at once. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Min Jae rested his forehead against hers. You saved my life, he repeated. That day in the café, when Amara asked why I looked lonely. You saved my life. I was so close to giving up, to letting the darkness win. Then you smiled at me like I was worth something, and I remembered what it felt like to hope. We saved each other, Chidera corrected softly. I was drowning too, in bills and exhaustion and the fear that I'd never be enough for my daughter. Then you showed me that maybe strength isn't about doing everything alone. Maybe it's about letting someone stand beside you. Or sit, he said with dry humor, gesturing to the wheelchair. Sit then. She kissed him again, softer this time. Sit beside me and let's figure out this crazy thing together. Deal. His arms wrapped around her waist, holding her close. You and me and Amara against the world. And your entire criminal organization. Minor detail. She laughed against his shoulder, letting herself feel the safety of his embrace. Outside, Chicago glittered beneath them, a city full of danger and possibility. But here, in this moment, with Min Jae's heartbeat steady beneath her ear and the promise of tomorrow stretching out ahead, Chidera let herself believe in happy endings, even the unexpected kind. Years later, Chidera would look back on that morning in the cafe as the moment everything changed. The day her life split into before and after. Loneliness and love. Fear and fierce protection. The penthouse had become home in the months that followed. Amara's laughter echoed through rooms that had been silent for too long. Family dinners replaced lonely takeout. And slowly, carefully, Min Jae's smile became something she saw every day instead of a rare gift. The organization adjusted. Some left, unwilling to follow a man in a wheelchair. Others stayed, their loyalty proven through action rather than words. Min Jae restructured, legitimized where he could, ruthlessly eliminated threats to his family. Because that's what they were now, family. Chidera learned to navigate his world, the late-night phone calls, the security that became second nature, the careful balance between legal business and the shadows he couldn't completely escape. She learned to trust that he would always come home, that the promises he made were ones he'd die keeping. Amara grew, 8 years old, then 10, then 12. Still fearless, still asking questions that made adults uncomfortable. But she never questioned Min Jae's place in their lives. He'd earned that through 1,000 small moments, homework help and bedtime stories, fierce protection and gentle understanding. He'd become her father in every way that mattered. On a snowy December evening, Min Jae found Chidera standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city lights blur through the falling snow. He moved up behind her, his arms wrapping around her waist, chin resting on her shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" he murmured. "That day in the café." She leaned back into him. "What if Amara hadn't asked why you looked lonely? What if we just walked past? Then I'd probably still be drowning." His lips brushed her temple. "And you'd probably still be working yourself to exhaustion trying to survive. So we saved each other." "We did." His hand moved to her left hand, thumb tracing the ring there, the one he'd given her 6 months ago in front of Amara and a small gathering of people they'd learned to trust. "Best decision I ever made. Asking me to marry you? Letting your daughter ask why I looked lonely." He turned her in his arms, his eyes soft with an emotion that still made her breath catch. She saw me. Really saw me. Not the wheelchair, not the power, not the danger. Just a lonely man who needed someone to care. "She gets that from her mother," Chidera teased. "I know." His smile was tender. "You both saved me. Now I get to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret it." "Gross." Amara's voice called from the kitchen. "Stop being mushy and come help me with dinner. Just because you guys are married doesn't mean you get to be annoying." They laughed, the sound twining together in the warm air. As they moved toward the kitchen, toward family and food and the simple joy of being together, Chidera caught Min Jae's hand. "Hey," she said softly. "I need you to know something." "What?" That day in the cafe, when Amara asked why you looked lonely, she squeezed his fingers. "You weren't the only one who needed saving. I was drowning too, in fear and exhaustion and the belief that I'd always be alone. Then you looked at me like I was worth something, like my struggles mattered, and I remembered what it felt like to hope. So we really did save each other," he said quietly. "We did." She kissed him, quick and sure. "And we'll keep saving each other every day, no matter what comes. Even when Amara becomes a teenager? Even then." His laugh was rich and warm. "Then I guess we better get used to chaos. Wouldn't have it any other way." They joined Amara in the kitchen, the three of them falling into the comfortable rhythm of family. And if sometimes Chidera caught Min Jae staring at them with wonder in his eyes, as if he still couldn't quite believe they were real, she understood. Because she felt it too, that disbelief that this was her life now, that the lonely man in the cafe had become her husband, that the scared single mother she'd been had found someone who saw her strength instead of her struggles. Love, she'd learned, didn't always arrive the way you expected. Sometimes it came in a wheelchair with danger trailing behind it and a broken man asking to be saved. Sometimes you walked into a cafe with your daughter's hand in yours and walked out with a future you'd never dared to imagine. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, that future became home.